Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. I found myself with a ton of extra time this morning and felt compelled to share my conversion story in the hope that this will help somebody out there. To begin with, I grew up in a half Christian, half, I don't know what you want to call my dad, household. He was a Christian for a while, and then he had a falling out with faith or the church, and for most of my life he struggled with what he believed. But he always went back into Christianity, so a Christian? But anyways, so my mom was deeply religious, and we went to Sunday school and church every Sunday and, Bible studies and things like that. And I'm actually very thankful for my Christian upbringing because it saved me from a lot of pitfalls that I feel like young people fall into in our society. So I'll always be grateful for the moral foundation that it gave me. But it did leave some psychological marks as well that I have had to work through as a Muslim. I feel blessed, alhamdulillah, to have had the journey that I have had. So about the age of 7, my parents started to have problems in their relationship and they decided to get divorced or separated. And that kind of blew open my whole little perfect world that I was living in. So it set me up to start asking questions about the other aspects of my life. Because if marriage wasn't really forever, then what else had my parents been telling me that wasn't really true, kind of thing. So parents who are divorcing, watch out. That is something that can happen. When that happened, my mom turned deeper into her faith, and we spent so much time at church in church functions. And the more time I spent, the more I started to question what I was being told. So as I grew and my reason grew and my logic grew, the idea of the Trinity really started to grate on me. And I remember asking the question, well, if God is the Father, how can God be the Son? And if God is this omniscient being above human beings, how does he have a son? Like a physical son. And why would he need to be born through a human being? And why do we need Jesus to intercede with us for God as a blood sacrifice in order for him to forgive us? And I couldn't really find the answers to those questions in the Bible or the biblical texts. And they'll tell you that it's because, from our nature, we're original sinners. That's it. Adam and Eve sinned, or even Adam, should I say, sinned. And then the whole of humanity is cursed from this. And that's what you're taught in Christianity. And that created a lot of psychological issues for me as far as guilt goes. And alhamdulillah, I've been able to work with them, through them, because of Islam. So anyways, I couldn't get the answers to my questions. And eventually, when I was 13 or 14 or something like that, I just had it. It was driving me insane. I couldn't bring myself to believe many things that were being told to me. And I told my mom, I still believe in God, but I can't go to church. Every time I try to read the Bible, I just come out with a bigger headache and more confusion. And I just saw that it wasn't going to work for me. It wasn't the answer. So I kind of floated in agnosticism, I would call that period in my life. And subhanAllah, right at that time, and it's always happened in my life, that Allah puts exactly who I need at that time to kind of guide me where I'm supposed to be going. I met my best friend in high school who also happened to be Muslim. And so this is fast forward a couple of years after my parents initially got divorced. They got back together and then they were having problems again. So I ended up basically living at my best friend's house during my high school years, 4 years of high school. They basically adopted me. They were like the most wonderful, beautiful people ever. They never made me feel like the odd man out, and they never were pushy about being Muslims. Like, it was kind of like they were Muslims. Like, they just didn't celebrate Christmas, which was a little weird for me. And, you know, that is also a major thing coming from Christianity and moving over to Islam, is giving up all these traditions that are in your childhood. And I know I struggled with that a lot at some point. So if you're like me and you're worrying about that, you know, all I can say is that Allah will provide you with what is so much better than what you think you're about to lose. But back to the story. So I spend a lot of time with them, and you know, I did go to the masjid every now and then. They didn't really pray that often, or I didn't really witness them praying that often. They did fast Ramadan, but as far as like daily practice and practical things, I didn't really know that much. And then in my senior year, just because of how they were with me and because of my own curiosity, because at this time I still believed in God and I couldn't figure out what the path to Him looked like. So it was important to me to start to make my own path, because I was leaving the one my parents had laid out for me. So I borrowed a Quran, which I still have to this day actually, from my best friend, and I read the whole thing in the summer of my senior year of high school. And I remember after reading it feeling this peace wash over me and thinking, if there were a book of God, I'm pretty sure I just read it. But I feel like it was so close to the time when I had just gotten away from religion that I wasn't ready yet. I was definitely not ready to be devout anything. That was really the spark or the ember in my brain. And from there, it always kind of got fanned whenever I learned something new about Islam. I wanted to understand religion. I wanted to understand human beings. I wanted to really find the truth, no matter where it brought me, no matter what truth that looked like. Without Christmas, with Christmas, my traditions, a different country, whatever. And that's when I decided to major in anthropology in college, because what better way to understand human culture than to study it? So I did that, and I did a minor in history too, because they kind of go hand in hand. And subhanAllah, I took a lot of Islamic studies courses, and through taking them and learning about not only Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his spiritual prowess, but his military prowess and his leadership skills, and just the amazing feats that he had accomplished through Islam, the ember in my brain was being fanned, and I started to fall in love with Islam, and I started to meet more Muslims, and I decided to delve deeper into what I was feeling. And then 9/11 happened, and I remember 9/11 like it was yesterday, because I was sleeping and my dad, all of a sudden I heard my dad screaming, and he had a health problem, so I thought he's having a heart attack or a stroke or something crazy is happening. So I raced downstairs, and I just see my father like awestruck with tears coming down his face. And he's saying, "The world is ending, the world is ending. They crashed planes into the towers." And I, look at the TV and I see that planes are being flown into the towers in New York. And so of course I'm freaked out. I was scheduled to go to work that day. I called and they were like, "Yeah, don't come in." And I sat there with my dad until we figured out what it was, or what the media told us it was. When they began to spin the Islamophobia in the media, that's when I really felt charged. I couldn't stomach what they were saying about Muslims and Islam, because here my best friend is a Muslim, her family is Muslim, and they are some of the people on this earth that have treated me the best. So you can't tell me all of these things about Islam and Muslims are true when I know they're not. And so that really got me thinking and charged up and fired up to dispel those myths. So I doubled down on my Islamic studies and I decided to go study Arabic in Egypt because I wanted to learn how to read the Quran and learn Arabic to be able to communicate with, people who spoke the language of the Quran. So while I was studying Arabic at the American University in Cairo, about 2 years after 9/11, I had an experience there that is the point of my conversion. So it's been a long road since then, and I'm not going to say I was like poof, practically overnight. I was a perfect Muslim and I did everything right and I understood everything and I knew everything. SubhanAllah, I'm still learning things today. But we had been walking around an open air market in Cairo, and I had kind of wandered off from the group into a spice stall, I remember. And then I heard the call to prayer, which I've been hearing all summer, so, nothing abnormal. And this particular call to prayer, though, pulled me in, and I felt myself just walking towards the entrance of the masjid. And SubhanAllah, I was transfixed throughout the whole prayer. And at the end of it, I just remember the shahada springing from my lips and kind of waking up from that state and thinking, oh my goodness, I am a Muslim now. I just said I'm a Muslim, like that's crazy. But at the same time, I felt happy and good and peaceful. Like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be heading towards. This is the goal. So, of course, my best friend was ecstatic, and her family and everything. I told her before I told my mom because I wanted to wait until I came back to the States to tell my mom. And I feel like this might also be something that a lot of converts or pre-converts struggle with, is telling those that you love that you're now a Muslim. And it can also stunt you growth-wise as a Muslim because you don't want to be too different now that you're a Muslim, but you should be. To not, break those old relationships or ruffle any feathers. So I feel like the fear of telling the people who love you and the people who you love in your life who are not Muslim is probably one of the biggest things that keep converts from taking that step. And it was difficult because I knew my mom, and I know my mom is super religious and believes that I need to believe in Jesus in order to go to heaven. And so when I told her, of course she cried. And, you know, I'm not sure if she's come to peace with it, but we have a good relationship now. We've decided to let sleeping dogs lie, kind of, because we've had conversations about religion, and you know, they just go in a circle because we each believe what we believe. But alhamdulillah, she's been very accepting, and my family as a whole has been very accepting, and I feel blessed in that regard, because I have read a lot of terrible things that have happened to people being disowned, or you know, their parents getting super upset or not talking to them. So alhamdulillah, that hasn't been the case for me, and I can say that Islam honestly has given me peace and security to live in the world that we live in and not worry. So thanks for listening. I mean, the story is way longer than that, and that's technically when I became a Muslim. Inshallah, I can share a few more gems with you. I just wanted to kind of give you the bare bones of my conversion story, and hope that it helps you in some way. And if you have any questions or anything that you want me to talk about, definitely comment below, like and subscribe to the channel. I'm also doing some fun videos with my kids, some educational videos, some cross comparative analysis between Christianity and Islam. So thanks for watching. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum.